Hello friends and welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel if you've been here before. My name is Jess, I'm the creator of Pinkrexx, and today we're going to be repotting this weird mixed planter of an orchid and a philodendron Brazil that I got off the clearance rack at Lowe's. Before we get started, and just to let you know, I make videos about plants, video games, and other topics, and I post on Saturdays, so if you like that kind of content and you haven't done this already, the next time the like button asks you to pick them up from campus, please show up in a pink Power Wheels Jeep Wrangler. Also, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel down below and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of my future uploads. Per usual, the first thing I'm going to get out is my potting mat. I like to have a potting mat down just to help contain any messes that, taking plants out of their pot might cause. And I have no idea what to expect. I imagine that these are both going to be in plugs of some kind, but I don't know if there's like another pot in there with it or if it's actually just all potted in the same substrate. And I don't know where my gloves are, so I'm not going to wear them today because I don't feel like looking for them. Oftentimes I'll get a plant from the clearance rack and it'll look a little bit sad, but I'm able to kind of nurse it back to health. I've gotten a lot of plants that way, truthfully. And this one I'm hoping will be similar because the top bits of both plants look really healthy, but I'm a little nervous to see how the roots of them are doing because this pot also has no drainage. So we've got a lot of sphagnum moss just on the top here. I did give it like a tiny bit of water when I first brought it home just because I've had it for about a week and I didn't want it to be terribly thirsty when I went to film the video. So this might seem silly to do first, but just to avoid this spike, super tall, getting stuck on things, I'm going to chop it back to the next triangle node down after the last dropped flower. So below the last node of every flower spike where a flower came out, there's another node that looks like a triangle. That's just the easiest way to identify it. You're going to want to go ahead and cut right below that last spot where the bloom fell off. And I did this with my tiny orchid, and it actually is starting to push a new flower spike out of that spot. It makes me so sad when I see people just be done with their orchid as soon as it's done blooming, because you can get them to rebloom if you just chop it down to the next node 9 times out of 10. Some people even use kiki paste to like make a little clone of the orchid on the stalk, and I think that's so cool. God, I love plants. So now that that's taken care of and it's taking up a little bit less space, I'm just gonna go ahead and finish removing the dried sphagnum moss off of the top. As far as I could tell upon initial inspection, it doesn't look like it has any pests. It's super healthy for the fact that it was on the clearance rack. I think it was just on the clearance rack because all the flowers fell off and nobody wanted it, but I wanted him. I'm actually gonna take the flower spike little support thing off of here really quick, just while I'm taking it out of the substrate, because it's not super necessary to have on there while I'm doing this part, but I will put it back in once I've got it all repotted. And since it's not in like a flexible pot, I'm just gonna, I was just gonna say I'm just gonna wiggle it out, but it came right out of there, and look at that. That pot has absolutely zero drainage. So actually, it's kind of surprising. Underneath the soil, the philodendron Brazil has like a soil situation going on, but like I said again, I'm expecting that there's a plug in there somewhere. But that's actually kind of cool that they like put 2 different types of substrate in here, but that would totally screw up the watering schedule, so that's not ideal. Honestly, the roots do not look bad at all. There's a lot of good green roots left in there. It's thirsty, and some bits are really stuck to some pieces of orchid bark, so I'm not going to pull on those too hard, but I am going to make sure to remove any pieces of the roots that might look super dried out or papery or thin, or alternatively, any pieces of roots that might look like they're browning really bad or rotting. I'm just gonna go ahead and cut all that off, if I find any, but so far, the plug of death. I wish that commercial growers would find a better way to start plants that was both cost-effective for them and good for the longevity of the plant, because so often I see these little plugs and they're just absolutely suffocating the plant that is in them. But the roots that are in the little teeny tiny nursery pot are definitely dead. And some of the roots are snapped off, so I am going to trim those back as well. I am getting sphagnum moss all over my lap right now. But the little pot that's in there is just a peat plug and a plastic little pot, so I'm just going to go ahead and cut it to avoid any further root damage. If you could let go of the plant, that would be preferable. Please let go. I don't want to have to beg. What do you want? Oh, a little bit that was just persnaggled on those roots. I'm just gonna, with my hand, gently take this little peat plug out And I'm gonna save this substrate because it's not bad, but you want the substrate to be nice and chunky and airy. You don't want the little wood bits in it to be starting to kind of degrade or break down and be really mushy. You want them to just be nice and airy. Nice and spacious in between. Oh my god, it's not even like rooted in, it's just like smashed around the middle of the roots. Love that. Love that for you, honey. Now that that is out of there, you can see a nice root mass. Just a little yellow in the middle. We're just gonna go ahead and snip off all the dead bits that were trapped in that little pot. It doesn't look like any of them are like rotting at all, which is really great. Really great to see. It was kind of inappropriate, like, you know? Like, I'm sorry, ma'am. It's for your own good. Ugh, they're so fragile. Fragile. Must be Italian. So for my orchid, I am going to keep this portion of the substrate. I took out most of the sphagnum moss. I have this orchid pot that I also got from Lowe's. It was $3, I think, so not a bad price for this guy. And to the substrate that I'm keeping, I'm actually gonna add some leca just for a little bit extra aeration, just to make sure I'm not gonna cause any rot. And then here I have just a little cup of some really chunky charcoal and a couple of pieces of lava rock, not for any particular reason, I just was too lazy to take them out. And I'm just going to kind of mix this all together and then start putting it in the pot and then put the orchid in the pot and hope for the best. I am going to moisten it a bit as well. I saw a lot of people that also had really chunky perlite to put in with their orchid substrate, or like if you buy the, kind of satisfying, if you buy the bags of pre-mixed like aroid or orchid substrate from places like Lowe's, oftentimes they'll have coarse perlite already in the mix. I'm just gonna use this same little scoop that I had. I just threw it all over the table. So I'm just gonna go ahead and take some in my little scoop and put it in my pot. There we go. And these pots are nice because they have holes on all the sides, which is what orchids like, is to just have a lot of drainage, because that's what their roots need. That's just what this type of plant requires to be happy. And he fits in there pretty well, I would say. I'm actually gonna dump a little bit out just to make a little bit more room on the bottom there. Orchids like to be kind of all the way up against the edge of their pot. They don't like a whole ton of extra room in there. And we're just gonna tuck his roots down, just nice and easy. And orchids don't really need to be up potted the way that regular kind of soil-loving plants do. They just need their substrate changed out, because once they've reached their full size, this is just kind of how they exist as houseplants. Which is really good news for me, because that means I don't have to buy a new pot. And I am going to put the flower spike back in there now, or the flower spike support stick. The flower spike is the green thing that's connected to the plant, Jessica. Use your brain. Gonna finish filling her up. This is going suspiciously well. Half of me is like, oh, you know what you're doing. You know what you're doing. And the other half of me is like, you did something very wrong. It's fine. She's a little crooked in there, but you know, it could be a lot worse. I think that going from a situation with absolutely zero drainage to having a situation with a lot of drainage, that this is pretty good. Some of the roots are sticking out the edges of the pot. That's to be expected when there's this many holes in your pot. And this is one instance where we are not going to cover our holes. We're going to leave them out. Give them a little, give them a little tap. And some people will choose to put this in a cover pot. I'll do that if I get a cover pot. But right now I just have this, so this will have to do. I think that that is looking as good as it can look. Now that that part's done, I'm going to go ahead and My dog is groaning by my feet. Thank you for that input. We will forward your complaint to corporate. She's probably mad because I didn't give her a SNACK. I know parents do that with their kids, but I don't have any kids, I have a dog. Bring our little Brazil friend over here again. And I can see that it's in, if I had to guess, this is probably just a mostly peat mixture. I'm feeling for a nursery plug, but I actually don't feel one, which is a good sign. Nursery plugs are not great for, you know, plants that want to live a long time. All right, this is my last standard 4-inch terracotta pot that I have from Wisconsin. After that, they've all been used. And I do have a little piece of mesh in there because in this situation, we will be covering our holes. Okay, who you are, you should be covering your holes. Except if you're an orchid, then I guess you get a pass. I just have my regular aeroid soil mix in this reused caribou cup that I kept from Wisconsin also. I have guilt about single-use plastic, so I keep it indefinitely. Unless it breaks, usually. I'll usually find a use for it. Kind of moisten this soil mix a little bit. I'm just gonna moisten it in the cup because I'm feeling lazy. I'm just gonna fill the pot with this about 1/3 of the way up, just to give the roots something to grow into. It's going to kind of nestle the root mass in there nicely. And then I'm just gonna take and fill in around the roots. I'm setting it down in the pot a little bit, just because I know that it's going to kind of loosen up as I'm putting more soil in with it. There we go. I'll give it a better water after this, but for right now I am, oh, why did I do that? Oh my god. Pretty glonky. I'm gonna have to vacuum anyway, because I dumped dirt all over the floor. Just sweeping it away like I sweep away all my worries, right? And there we go. I think they're going to be a lot happier separate than they would have been together in a pot without a hole in it. But again, for the orchid, we've just got a really chunky, airy mix that is soilless, and we've got a proper orchid pot with holes in the sides. And then for my philodendron Brazil, I just have a terracotta pot with a drainage hole in the bottom and a really chunky aeroid soil mix as well. But that's gonna do it for today, guys. That was saving a clearance plant that I found at Lowe's. If you liked the video or you got something out of today's video and you haven't done this already, the next time the like button asks you to pick them up from campus, please show up in a pink Power Wheels Jeep Wrangler. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel down below and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of my future uploads. If you'd like, you can also find me on TikTok under the same name as I am on here. It's just Pinkrexx with 2 X's. I post near daily planty kind of content there, so give that a follow if you'd like to see more content from me. Otherwise, whether I see you on another platform or down in the comment section below, please comment something. Just know I really appreciate you being here, and I still don't know what I'm doing. Okay, thanks, bye! I feel like this is just really good, you know? I don't always do things like this and just have that very good feeling afterwards, but this is very good. This is good. The sun is out, we planted plants, it's a good time. Now I'm gonna go dunk them in water because I'm sure they're very thirsty.